Is Justin Baldoni about to lose his case against the New York Times? We're going to get into it. Meghan Markle has decided that she wants to be a duchess again, guys. She said, forget how racist the royal family is. And then we have some beef going on X between Andy Cohen and Meghan McCain. Lots to get into. Let's dive in. You're listening to No Filter with Zack Peter, your go-to source for all the latest pop culture and reality TV tea, served fresh all week long. Now, let's dive in. What's going on, guys? Welcome on in, welcome on in, welcome on in. I hope you guys are having a good, what's today? Wednesday? Happy Wednesday. Just a heads up, I am going to be doing a live stream tomorrow, Thursday, with Popcorned Planet. Andy from Popcorned Planet. Gonna be live with him tomorrow. Me and Donna, I think, are both doing it. Yes, we will get into the LA Times article, Mrs. Busted Canna Biscuits. We will be getting into that for sure. It definitely seems like Blake Lively's team is working extra to try and smear Justin Baldoni's name. Now, I used to subscribe to the New York Times. I haven't subscribed to it lately. Do we want to read the article together? No, they probably won't let me. They'll probably get mad at me and say that I ruined their paywall. So I'll read some excerpts from it. Oh, Kathy says, Zach, I like your hair better when it was platinum. Oh man, I did platinum for what, 6, 7 years? How long was I platinum for? Yeah, I think like 6 years. I had my platinum blonde hair. I feel like I don't miss the platinum at all. I was actually thinking about that yesterday, and I was like, I don't miss the platinum. I really very much am loving the dark hair. It's just like kind of a vibe. Baby, are you running for the ride? What was the brand that you used for your hair? Nutrafol. Nutrafol, guys. Nutrafol. Get yourself some Nutrafol. Nutrafol.com. Use code NOFILTER. Hey, get $10 off. Get it. Okay. Lots that we'll get into today. But like I said, there's this new article in the New York Times. And it's literally... But so I have some excerpts that I'm going to pull from Miguel, Colonel Kurtz. She posted a couple of excerpts that we can read. If you guys are looking for a great resource, she's on X, and she she said that, even though the LA Times has this new article that they're running about Blake and Baldoni, and it was supposed to be objective. Right here, I'll read you the headline. I will read you. Oh, hold on. Sorry. I promise I had all of this ready, and then now it clearly just fell out of a coconut tree. Los Angeles Times, Justin Baldoni's tumultuous road to the center of Hollywood scandal. I don't think I'm gonna resubscribe. And like I said, I would share the article with you on the screen, but I feel like the New York Times will come after me for some sort of copyright, or like I'm violating the terms and the agreements and blah blah blah. So I'll just read you some of the excerpts. Okay. But so it kind of looks like, oh, how did this, innocent man get into the center of the scandal? And so Colonel Kurtz posted a couple of excerpts on her X account. So I'm going to read them for you. Here's the first one, because she seems to be very upset about the things that they're saying about Baldoni, saying that it's not as biased, or it's not as unbiased as they were claiming. And trust me, we'll get into the New York Times of it all and his case against the New York Times, because even there was a court loss, but like it's not what we think that it is. But the media is reporting on it. Okay, so here's the first excerpt from the LA Times article. Yet some former colleagues, in more than a dozen interviews with the Times and a previously unreported 2020 lawsuit against Baldoni and Wayfair Studios, paint a more complicated picture. Several described a pattern of performative virtue and power plays that, in their view, conflicted with the ideals Baldoni professes to uphold. So we're right away referencing this 2020 lawsuit with Justin Baldoni and Wayfair Studios. Let's actually look this up. Why was Justin Baldoni sued in 2020? Let's just do a quick fact check, right? Okay. No, in 2020. Where is this unreported lawsuit from 2020? I want to say it was about like um it had why was Justin Baldoni sued in 2020? Mm-mm-mm-mm. Why was Justin Baldoni why sued in 2020? Because if it was unreported, Justin Baldoni, known for his role in Jane the Virgin, was sued in 2020 by a former business partner over a dispute related to a production company. The lawsuit claimed that issues regarding the financial dealings, this is from ChatGPT, the lawsuit claimed issues regarding the financial dealings and management of their joint venture, which led to allegations of breach of contract and fiduciary duty. Baldoni denied the allegations, and as of my last update, the matter was being resolved in court. For most current updates on the case, it would be best to check with recent news sources. Okay. Why would this lawsuit not be talked about? Oh, because Justin Baldoni is essentially a nobody, which this article in the LA Times doesn't want you to think that he's essentially a nobody. They want you to believe that he's actually a lot more powerful than you think he is. So here we're made very clear that this is regarding a dispute related to their production company, regarding financial dealings and management of the joint venture. Allegations are of breach of contract and fiduciary duty. Very vague, but not about harassment, not about him being, performative in the workplace, which even if he is performative or not performative, it's not illegal to be performative. I know plenty of people in this industry that are performative. So why it's even necessary to I also think it's fishy that they report on a unreported 2020 lawsuit and don't give us details as to what that lawsuit actually is about. If you're going to reference it LA Times, why don't we actually get into it? Tell me what the lawsuit's about. Tell me the status. Have they settled? Which, as of what ChatGPT is saying, they have not settled out of yet. It's completely unrelated. Yes, I agree. Okay. Continues on. They keep talking about the Baldoni Lively battle as David and Goliath, but that's just not my experience, said one former collaborator who, like numerous others interviewed by the Times, declined to be named out of fear of being drawn into litigation. Wow, where have we heard unnamed sources in lawsuits before? Oh, yeah, Blake Lively's team continues to have people that refuse to go on record. Why aren't you going on record? Like, what are you so afraid of that you're afraid that what this guy's going to drag you into litigation? The only time you should be afraid of being dragged into litigation is when you're not being honest, when you lie, when you defame people, when you slander somebody, when you are in breach of contract of some sort, right? If you're violating an NDA, which you can also get around NDAs if you have a good enough attorney. So all there are numerous. I love that the LA Times, like, there are numerous people that are telling us all of these details, but none of them want to go on record. Not even one of them. Not one. Not a PA. Nothing. Even though it's so easy for people to go on TikTok and tell all of their stories on TikTok, and many have come out against Blake Lively on TikTok. Just yesterday, I read a story about the former runner on Gossip Girl that came out against Blake Lively. He's not afraid of being sued by Blake Lively. She's literally the one that started this litigation process against Justin Baldoni. She kicked things off. So and not only that, but she was threatening with HR complaints on the set. So if anybody's litigious, it would be Blake Lively. I would assume more people would be afraid of Blake Lively. Interesting. Let's keep reading. Um, so person, former collaborator, we don't know what that means, but a former collaborator just says that it's not like a David and Goliath situation, which also let's finish this paragraph first. Justin has a lot of power and a lot of money, and he's not afraid to use them to get his way. We need allies, but we need allies whose personal and business dealings align with who they say they are. Again, if he's a fake woke feminist, which is what I called him initially when he first came onto my radar with all of this, that's separate. That you being fake, it doesn't make you, worthy of being sued in court just because you're fake, unless you're like deceiving people, right? You're trying to sell them, these telemarketing schemes, right? You're trying to sell them these business courses and you're being disingenuous and you're defrauding people. That's different. Justin Baldoni saying, I support women and having a podcast about dismantling toxic masculinity and people thinking that he's not that virtuous. Not really illegal. Not really illegal. But also, again, I want to know, what is this former collaborator saying? And if this former collaborator thinks that Justin Baldoni has a lot more power than he's claiming that he has, then I don't know. To me, that kind of sounds like this could be somebody that maybe was an assistant, maybe was a PA. Again, we don't know what collaborator means necessarily. Okay. Next excerpt from the LA Times article that claims that they're unbiased. While Baldoni's openness about his efforts to be a better man earned praise from many, others questioned his authenticity. Inspired by his faith, Baldoni has long tried to help others through such efforts such as the Skid Row Carnival of Love, an annual event founded in 2015 to help LA's unhoused community. That's right. I forgot we're not allowed to call them homeless anymore. Now they're just unhoused. Well, why don't we get them some houses? LA Times, why don't you get on Gavin Newsom about that one? He's out there doing his little podcast thing. Maybe he should get some houses for all these unhoused. Okay. Uh, but to some observers, Baldoni's public gestures, such as filming himself giving clothing to the homeless man or asking employees to sign their emails with the phrase so much love, felt performative and aimed at self branding as much as bringing about genuine change. Wow. So he asked his team to sign off, not saying best, not saying thanks, not saying kind regards, but instead he said so much love. That's how we sign off emails in this business, is so much love. And that's what we're crucifying him for. Like, what? Okay, let's keep reading this very unbiased article, LA Times. It was constant positivity all the time. I would say toxic positivity, says one former staffer. I'm always a little dubious, one former Wayfair staffer. I'm always a little dubious of people who advertise themselves as disruptors of the status quo or quote unquote good people. It felt phony. Okay. And literally, and like, what is the point of maligning his character in this way? Wayfair's internal culture was at times dysfunctional and riven by internal politics, according to one former executive at the company with Baldoni, who was often away on sets, only occasionally making appearances. Oh, okay. So now they're trying to make it seem like, oh, well, he's not really a part of these movies. He's not really part of these projects, which is interesting because who's making that argument right now? Oh, yeah. Blake Lively, in one of their recent filings, they said Baldoni wasn't even around. He admitted that he didn't even see the final cut of his own film. Yeah. I wonder why. I wonder why he didn't see the final cut of his own film. They think we just fell out of a coconut tree. Like, come on. He would come in and everyone would kind of stand and greet him as if he was an arriving conqueror, but he really didn't understand how the day-to-day business worked. Guess what? When you're the executive of the business, you don't often know what the nitty-gritty is going on. It depends on how big the staff is. It depends on how big the company is. Like, a lot of things. Do you think that the CEO of McDonald's knows what's going on at the McDonald's down the street? Like, it depends on the scale of the business. Context matters in these cases. And again, what does any of this have to do except making points that Baldoni is fake, the same way Blake Lively's argument was that, oh, Baldoni, look at his TED Talk from 2017 that they reference. And they're just like, oh, yeah, now that he has a brand to save, he has a brand to protect. That's why he's doing this, so that he doesn't look like a bad guy. Well, actually, maybe it's not so much that he doesn't look like a bad guy, but maybe it's so that, you don't ruin his entire reputation. Like, maybe he's not the best guy, but you trying to malign him as something that he's not, a predator. I don't know, a little different to me. Sorry, not buying it, LA Times. It just is more performative, virtue signaling media. Like, do they think that we're falling for this? Like this, it's almost exhausting to me. And it kind of just feels like this is very clearly not a man with a lot of power in Hollywood. Okay. And the only reason he has money that he's getting right now is from Steve Sorowitz. But even so, Steve Sorowitz, like, I understand he has money to fight this lawsuit and he's very, very wealthy. But like, let's be clear, he had Sony finance this film because he obviously can't afford to finance it all on his own. That's why Sony was the distributor of It Ends With Us. It's just so crazy to me how much there's clearly this orchestration from mainstream media that wants to malign this guy. And it's like, why? What evidence or proof do you have aside from people that won't even go on record to share their experiences with Baldoni? Because I know people that are going on record that will share their experiences with Baldoni. You're going to hear from them very soon. I'll tell you that. There's a project in the works. Well, I think I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about it. I think it's already been announced. But there are people that I know that are going on record, talking about their experiences with Justin Baldoni. And the only ones that have had positive things to say to me that didn't want to go on record, that told me things anonymously, that came to me and were like, I interviewed for him, I worked for him, I was on this set with him. The only people that wanted to remain anonymous are the people that are names that don't want to be dragged into this stuff. It's not some unknown PA or whatever. It's just, I don't know. It's also strange. Once again, bashing his religion. Yeah, and why is none of the media picking up on Ryan Reynolds clips from the past? Like, why is that not headline news, right? Why is the media not picking up on Blake Lively's previous harassment claims, unreported harassment claims that Leslie Sloan was working to bury allegedly? I happen to know people that worked for Blake Lively. They've shared a lot with me. So it relieves my soul that you're covering this LA Times article. It's just unfortunate because it's like they're doing the same shit. Like, this is why the public doesn't trust you. This is why we have now become the new media, because you can't be trusted anymore. You lie and you deceive and you present narratives. And what we learned in the New York Times, because we'll get to the New York Times in just a sec, but what we learned in that is that the media can do this and that they're protected. And so we're going to get into why the New York Times might actually end up winning against Justin Baldoni. And it's not because they're on the right side of history. It's because the way that the law is set up is it's set up to protect agencies like this. So that was the LA Times that ran this new article. Again, bogus. But I called out the LA Times when they were doing the articles against Erica Jane and Tom Girardi, when they were doing all of that bullshit, right? And they were clearly just dragging Erica from Real Housewives of Beverly Hills and maligning her character and focusing on the housewives of it all rather than focusing on the people that were truly complicit in the scandal, the Girardi Keese legal scandal, right? Taking advantage of their clients, but they would rather focus on the wife, but yet they were giving, so many other people weren't getting that same heat. Same thing with The Housewife and the Hustler, part 1 and 2 documentaries on Hulu that the LA Times was complicit in and was working on as well. They got to profit off of that story. And what did that really do aside from rip apart Erica that had no connection to the business dealings that were happening with her husband? She was how many decades younger than this man? Third wife in Beverly Hills, and you expect her to be privy to what's going on? You would think he's coming home and be like, yeah, honey, tonight's dinner is paid for by the orphans and widows that I just stole from. He ain't sharing that shit with her. She's literally housewife number 3. She has an Amex, and that's how her life is paid for. She don't ask questions. At this point, people know better than to ask these questions. And I saw when the LA Times was putting out their low budget National Enquirer bullshit then, and I called it out then, and here we are. They're still doing the same shit. It's dumb. I love how you covered the Girardi case. And listen, when these other agencies want to come at me and be like, oh, you're just doing this because that's the pop. You like to go with the popular side because that's going to drive up your numbers. Yeah, no, I was definitely not on the popular side when I was defending Erica. I was very much not on the popular side because everybody wanted to see her fall. And all of the media was coordinating in their orchestration of watching Erica fall. And all of the other cast members on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills also complicit in that. I was one of the only people that was speaking out because, again, I focus on the truth. I focus on, the right side of history. That's what I try to aim for, is to be on the right side of history. And again, from what we're seeing, Baldoni absolutely does not, even though listen, and just to finish the Erica thing, like I've always said, she may not be the most likable to people. People may not like her for whatever reasons, but that doesn't make her culpable in her husband's business dealings. Now, when it comes to Baldoni, from what we've seen, he has a much stronger case against Blake Lively. So it makes you question why the media is continuing to slander him. Well, I guess slander is a strong word, right? Why the media continues to take shots at him. My opinion, right? Because as we learned with the New York Times and the lawsuit that Justin Baldoni is suing them for, they have the privilege of opinion, and they can give you their opinion. And whether it's right or wrong, it's not up to them to be right or wrong. It's just up to them to, you know, report whatever they're given. They don't have to do their due diligence. And they admit that. So let's get into that. But before we do, whew, I know we mentioned this at the top of the show, but I wanted to give some love to my pals at Nutrafol. Listen, guys, this year, there's nothing holding you back from loving your hair again. Hair is so much more than what you see on the surface. It's a reflection of what's happening inside. Let Nutrafol target the key root causes of your thinning hair and help you grow stronger, healthier strands from within. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand trusted by over 1.5 million people. See thicker, stronger, faster growing hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. Thinning hair is different for men and women, so one size fits all is not the approach to hair growth. It doesn't cut it. Nutrafol has multiple formulas for men and for women that are tailored to different life stages, such as postpartum or menopause, lifestyle factors, such as having a plant based lifestyle. So you can get just what you need with their formulations. It's physician formulated with 100% drug free ingredients. Nutrafol supports healthy hair growth from within by targeting the key root causes of thinning: stress, hormones, aging, nutrition, lifestyle, and your metabolism. And it's done through the whole body health approach. While many supplements rely solely on ingredient studies, Nutrafol clinically tests final formulations to ensure their efficacy. In a clinical study, 72% of men saw more scalp coverage after taking Nutrafol's men hair growth supplement for 6 months, and 86% of women saw improved hair growth after taking Nutrafol hair growth supplements for 6 months. Building a hair growth routine is simple. You can purchase online, no prescription required. Start your hair growth journey with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code NOFILTER. Find out why over 4,500 healthcare professionals and stylists recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair. Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code NOFILTER. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code NOFILTER. No filter. Okay, let's talk about the New York Times. Whew. I have seen 3 pro-Blake videos on Instagram yesterday. The CIA thinks we're stupid. Well, let's also be very clear about that, right? Like, we want to make sure that we're using these terms correctly. So, Shapiro, this guy that's now been hired by Blake Lively, he's former CIA. Okay. So, while he may be privy to certain tactics that the CIA may or may not have used in the past, that doesn't mean that he has the same access. So, we have to be very mindful of that as well. He may have access to certain things, he may not, but at least at the end of the day, he's privy to certain tactics that may have been used. And so he could be helping them implement certain tactics. He could be helping them, do certain things by saying, oh, if you do this and we have this article published, then that could potentially manipulate the SEO. That doesn't mean that he has control over the SEO, but he may know their tips and tricks. Again, this is all speculation, all my own conjecture, but he may be privy to what things they could do to help, influence people. I don't know for a fact what he was hired to do or what he's doing, but I just want to be mindful that he's not currently CIA. He's former CIA. He just, is privy to certain things. So let's just be mindful of that when we're discussing this. But be very mindful, very demure. Yeah. So Justin is overly nice and overly positive. didn't actually do anything wrong. They just felt that being nice and positive couldn't possibly be real, and so it must be fake. Got it. Yeah, that's basically what the LA Times is saying. Is they have all these people that are saying he's pretending to be a nice dude, and we don't know if he is or isn't, but like feels kind of fake. Don't trust him. That's like Nick Viall. Remember that loser when he went on his podcast with his 15 podcast co-hosts and none of them know how to get through a legal document, but they were out there being like, yeah, we interviewed him one time and he like meditated in front of us. And like, ew, David, why would you meditate in front of us? Like, that's so weird. And he like made us wait. Like, what? I don't like that. I don't like him because he meditated in front of us. Like, literally, what? You think I just fell out of a coconut tree? Please. Boy, bye. 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 But so the New York Times did get some sort of win in court today. But again, there's the battles and then there's the war, right? So there's this bigger war in court between Blake and Baldoni, right? And the two parties. But then there are the small battles in between. Justin Baldoni is suing the New York Times. Now, they have fought and have won their case with the judge, not their lawsuit. Sorry, because people are like, don't say that, don't say dropped, because when it says they dropped this, then that means it dropped in court. It's a very different meaning. Sorry. So they wanted to delay, they wanted to stay discovery. So they wanted to make sure that Baldoni's team could not move forward with discovery just yet against the New York Times and their lawsuit against the Times, right? They were basically arguing that they're waiting for the judge to dismiss their case, and they believe that the case will be dismissed. And so until a judge makes a decision, they want to make sure that Baldoni and his team don't have access to start the discovery process. And even though Baldoni's team is saying, well, we haven't even asked to start the discovery process necessarily, like we haven't even gotten there. So, we're not even there yet, but like, okay, your case isn't even dismissed yet. But so we saw this with Leah McSweeney, who's trying to sue Andy Cohen. I'll need to follow up on what's going on with that lawsuit, which, like I said yesterday, I heard that there's going to be a big announcement coming, a big Bravo announcement, and that it may pertain Andy Cohen taking a step down from Bravo. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means he's walking away from Watch What Happens Live. Like this may be the final season. This could mean that he's maybe going to stop doing Housewives reunions. This may be, you know, his capacity at BravoCon may be limited. I don't know what stepping down means necessarily, but I have heard from pretty good sources that there's an announcement coming. It's likely going to come in April, and that Andy Cohen may be stepping down. Again, I don't know how stepping down is defined, but there's supposed to be some big announcement coming in April. We'll see. But so in Andy Cohen's lawsuit with Leah McSweeney, Andy tried to do the same thing, basically saying, we don't want Leah McSweeney to begin, like, we're trying to get our case, her lawsuit against us dismissed. And so we don't want her to begin the discovery process until we determine whether or not the case, until the judge determines whether or not the case is going to be dismissed. And so that's kind of the same argument here, but it appears that the judge is leaning on the side of the New York Times because they did make some pretty strong arguments in court. Now, I don't agree with their arguments, and I think that Baldoni never really expected to win this lawsuit against the New York Times. I always suspected, this was my prediction months ago, I always suspected that this was really just an attempt to backdoor discovery or in some way gain access to documents that they may be able to use against Blake Lively, that this was kind of just a legal tactic. It's very, very hard. Very hard. Very hard to win a lawsuit against the media. We saw Johnny Depp tried to sue The Sun. Now, obviously, I know he tried to sue The Sun in the UK. UK rules are different from US rules, but for the most part, the law does protect the press. And they argued in the documents that we went through when we did members only the other night, they argue that they have privileges, right? They have the privilege of the press where they can, as long as they report on a story that they're given, you know, their source may be wrong and they don't know that, but they're just reporting this legal document that was given to them. And all they have to do is report on that they don't even have to tell both sides of the story if they don't want to. They're not required to. And the fact that they even decided to allow Baldoni to comment and give him a statement in their letter, that alone was them, doing him a solid. Like, that's them doing their journalistic integrity to try and tell both sides of the story, even though they didn't really, but they didn't have to. And so they have the protection, the privileges of the press. And not only that, but they also have the privileges of opinion because they can have an opinion. And just because it's an opinion doesn't necessarily mean that people should or would take it as fact, even though when they say it's a smear campaign, we hold them to a higher standard. And we believe that when the New York Times tells us that something is a smear campaign, that we trust them, right? We should trust the media. And the New York Times basically said, like, no, you shouldn't trust us. Like, that was just our opinion that it was a smear campaign. But like, we're protected. Our opinion is sacred. Like, we can give you our opinion, and we don't even have to tell you that it's our opinion, and we don't even have to fact check it if we don't want to. We can fact check it as much as, we basically want to. They basically exposed how the media gets away with their bullshit. And it was jarring. Like, if you go back and tune into that members only live stream where we went page by page of that article, it was jarring. Um, Danny says journalists do have some protection. It's called the press shield law, where they don't have to give up their sources. Yes, they don't have to give up their sources, but they also claim that the reason that they shouldn't be held accountable here is because they really did their job. They were given a legal document, and the legal document said these things. So they ran with what was in the legal document. Like, they're protected by that, which is crazy. And you're right, they don't have to give their sources. They don't have to legally say that Blake Lively was the one that told them or that leaked this to them, and that they're trying to hide that there was any sort of collusion to put this out there. And they're like, we didn't know if it was wrong or not wrong. Like, we just trusted that it was right because it was filed in a legal document, and all we did was report on the legal document. And we called it a smear campaign, but that's just our opinion. And we're entitled to that. It's crazy. Like, truly bonkers bananas. The media is the last opinion you should trust. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that full statement, Jive. That full statement. Bonnie says, new member. I love your honest coverage. Thank you, Bonnie. Danielle says, now it's okay. Maybe the connect. Oh. Busted Biscuit said they're removing the payroll and giving him a deadline. Them removing. Oh, you mean the paywall? They removed the paywall and gave him a deadline, and publishing early does go against proving malicious intent. So there was some traction there. Yes, but apparently, so Legal Bites, I was reading her thread on X this morning, and she was basically saying that, like, the arguments where I kind of felt like maybe that would be where he would have a stronger case was on the promissory fraud or breach of implied in fact contract. But apparently those aren't very strong arguments. I just thought in general, because they did give him a time frame, it was in writing, they ended up publishing it early, they misled him in some way. But I guess in order to prove those, they have to prove that it was done maliciously, it was done with malice, whereas the New York Times basically argued back, and they're like, well, he already gave us a statement. Like, that we had a statement from them. Like, we expected that at this point there wasn't going to be anything else that they were going to be adding. They'd given us a statement, and we ran their statement. So we did our due diligence to give them a fair side in this. I felt like they could have given us, they also said that, like, he could have given us more, it could have given us more evidence if he wanted to, but he didn't. I was like, really? Because you literally gave him an overnight deadline. You then wanted him to go and collect a bunch of evidence to have you review when you'd already had a time frame when you were going to publish this article. Real due diligence would have been like, oh, we see this. Okay, now let's hear his side of it. Let's give them both an opportunity to give us the evidence, and then let's report a big story, but an objective story, right? Let's report something that tells the full story. That would have been the right thing to do, and not to make an opinion, right? We didn't ask for your opinion, the New York Times. We asked you to give us the news. You didn't do that. And now you're trying to hide behind the fact that this was your opinion. Ridiculous. Truly ridiculous. Ooh, the Traders reunion looks are here. Ooh, fun. Oh, Dorinda looks cute. Chriselle looks cute. Bob Harper looks the same. I don't like Chanel's outfit. Chanel Ayan. She looks too washed out. It's all one, like her hair and the dress. Ooh, these are some cute looks. Sorry, guys. I know you can't see these. Or do you care about the Traders reunion looks? Because if you do care, maybe I'll bring them onto the screen and we can discuss them. Ooh, these are some good looks, though. Okay. Let me know if you're interested in that, and maybe we'll touch on that at the end. No politics at this time. Ban the main. Well, I didn't say anything political, Patty. I haven't said anything political, did I? We will get into political stuff in just a second. But first up, we're going to get into why don't YouTubers have the same protections? We do. So actually, Miss Busted Biscuits, we do have the same protections, and we can thank Heather McDonald and Juicy Scoop for that because there was a lawsuit that happened. So Heather McDonald, the comedian most notable from Chelsea Lately back on E back in the day, and there was a lawsuit. Two or Real Housewives of Orange County cast members, Tamara Judge and Shannon Bedore, did a live podcast with Heather McDonald. They did her Juicy Scoop live podcast, and in that live podcast, there were things that were said that one of the former cast members' husbands, Jim Bellino, felt was defamatory with remarks that they made about his business. Okay. So Jim Bellino decided to sue Tamara Judge, sue Shannon Bedore, and sue Heather McDonald. And in that case, they were able to acknowledge that podcasts are a form of media, that they are a form of press that do deserve protections. And so that's why Heather McDonald was ultimately able to win and act and get not be held accountable. And Shannon Bedore, I believe, also won her case against Jim Bellino. So there you go. We do have those same protections. Unfortunately, though, there are other tactics that they like to use to come at us with, like demonetization, reporting content, all of that sort of stuff, or putting hit pieces out against us, right? I'm sure we're going to get a lot more of that. So we'll see. Yeah, her win happened in March 2020, so it was overshadowed. Yeah, I wish it didn't get overshadowed. Obviously, like, listen, March 2020 was a crazy month, but I wish it didn't get overshadowed because she definitely deserved that win. Sounds like the new PR is causing problems with Justin, or trying. Definitely trying, but I think the public and the audience are just too smart and too savvy, which is why it's important for us to continue to report these stories honestly, objectively, and call out the bullshit as we see it, which I will always do and I will continue to do. Let's get into Meghan Markle, and then we'll get into Andy Cohen's beef with Meghan McCain. But before we do that, I want to give some love to my pals at DoorDash. DoorDash is a sponsor of No Filter this week. And listen, if you're looking for love this spring, whether you're looking for a spring fling, a situationship, or something more serious, it's easier than you think to find love on an app, or at least a lunch that you love on the DoorDash app. Whatever you're looking for, DoorDash and Panera are teaming up to help you find your perfect match. I love DoorDash and I love Panera. And so the fact that two of my favorite brands are coming together and I can order and save and I can share this with you guys makes me very happy. So Panera's You Pick Two offering lets you pair two items like a cup of soup, half a salad, half a sandwich. Together, you can pair them from Panera's menu. So you can choose which items you like if you're already a fan of Panera. They have over 800 possible combinations. So it's easy to find your one true lunch, is what they're calling it. You can pick your soups, your salads, you can pick a sandwich or half a sandwich, and you can split it and have that nice combo. You pick two, and it gets delivered right to you with DoorDash. I think I've been looking for love in all the wrong places. And now I feel like I found it. What I want, when I want it. The heart wants what it wants, and mine is calling for some delicious Panera for lunch today. I think that's what I'm going to order as soon as I wrap up today's episode. Steamy soup, refreshing salad, savory sandwiches. Find your perfect pairing. Use code TRUELUNCH. That's TRUELUNCH, True Lunch, one word, True Lunch, for 20% off your Panera You Pick Two order on DoorDash from March 3rd through March 12th only. So make sure these are important dates. From March 3rd through March 12th, you can use code True Lunch for 20% off until Wednesday, March 12th. Terms apply. For full terms, go to the Panera store page on DoorDash. Download DoorDash. Cash in your savings now. Use code TRUELUNCH for 20% off your Panera You Pick Two order on DoorDash. Okay, let's talk about Meghan Markle. Meghan Markle. Well, actually, she's not Meghan Markle anymore. She is not Meghan Markle. She wants to be called. She corrected Mindy Kaling on With Love Meghan, which is her new Netflix series. Mindy Kaling was just on, and she corrected Mindy Kaling. She's like, "Excuse me, Mindy Kaling." Excuse-moi. My last name is Sussex now. I'm Meghan, Duchess of Sussex. And you can tell even Mindy Kaling was kind of like, "What? Like, huh? You want to be called Duchess of Sussex? You want to be Meghan, Duchess of Sussex? Like Prince Harry, Duke of Sussex?" It's kind of weird, right? And she's like, "Well, it's my kid's name, and so I didn't know how important it would be to share a name with my kids," which I get. But like, you wanted nothing to do with the royal family. You were done with the royal family. You wanted to peace out from the royal family. You called them racist. You went on Oprah and implied that the royal family is racist and that they were prejudiced against you, which is crazy. Like, truly, truly crazy. And I mean, not crazy to think that like maybe they're a little more old school and maybe there are some inherent beliefs that they may or may not have. I don't know. I don't live in the UK. I don't know much about the royal family outside of what we know of them culturally here in the US. But like, I don't know much about their culture out there. I don't know how things work with the Commonwealth. However, what I do know is that Meghan and Harry wanted to completely part ways, and they absolutely severed their ties with the royal family with that Oprah sit down interview, right? They also further severed ties with the royal family when Prince Harry decided that he wanted to write that book. And the crazy part was, from what I remember, let me confirm this right now. From what I remember, I'm going to go on Amazon right now. I'm going to type in Prince Harry book because I believe Prince Harry's book, Spare, the author, is Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex. Got it. So they do refer to him as, but the book says Prince Harry, Spare, Prince Harry. But it is technically credited to the author being Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex. But like, you don't get to keep the royal title if you don't want to be part of the royal family anymore. Yes, technically the legal last name because the kid's legal last name is Windsor. So, um, what is it? Lilibet, Harry, and Meghan's kids. It's Lilibet and who's the other one? Lilibet. Oh, and Archie. So I believe it's isn't it Batten something? Yeah, their last names are Archie Mountbatten Windsor and Lilibet Mountbatten Windsor. So she can be like, "Well, my last name is Windsor. That's my family name." Which also, why do you want the family name if it had like no, at this point you should make him Harry Markle. Like that's his name now. He's Harry Markle. You can't be, you can't no, like you first of all, you built your brand as Meghan Markle, right? And like if you want to be, Markle Windsor, you're not Markle Sussex. Like that's just strange. But yes, so Archie is considered Prince of Sussex, and it's Prince Archie of Sussex and Prince Lilibet of Sussex. But like, I just don't understand why suddenly she wants to be Duchess of Sussex. Harry Markle is an awful name. Well, that's what they deserve, Stacey. That's literally what they deserve. He's going to be Harry Markle from here on out. They wanted nothing to do with the family. He trashed his family in his book Spare. I'm not even from the UK. I have no skin in the game to want to protect the royal family. Okay. Don't really give that much of a shit. However, here I'm just kind of like, nah. You guys literally, I call them the royal refugees who had to flee Canada after fleeing the royal family, right? Because it was so horrible. So they escaped to Canada and then they need to seek refuge at Tyler Perry's mansion in Beverly Hills or wherever he's at. You can't cut out the family yet still use their name as clout. Exactly, Danny. But not only use the name as clout, like okay, fine. She wants to use Windsor, she wants to be Mountbatten Windsor, whatever. But for her to want to be called Duchess, that's the part that really pisses me off. Duchess? You want to be a Duchess again? No. No. She's like, make Meghan Markle Duchess again. No, thank you. Literally, no, thank you. Sorry, you were the royal refugees. You came to the U.S. to seek refuge in Tyler Perry's mansion. Nope, not today, not today. Um, Mac Grover Mama says, "Saw your short on her last episode, and it was like watching a little girl play house. Made me sad for her." Yeah. I didn't even catch that everybody was like, "Why is she wearing all this white?" Like, very, very muted tones. Remember how she said that when she was in the royal family, she would never wear color because she always wanted to wear muted tones because she didn't want to overshadow the senior members of the royal family. And yet here she is wearing nothing but muted tones. She's wearing nothing but like white shit you don't really wear when you're cooking, right? When you're making cake, raspberry cake. 'Cause raspberries can get messy. When you're making candles from scratch from your bee farm in the backyard. It's just insane. You gotta do the royal work to be a duchess again, girly. Exactly, Nicole. Like, you can't be like, I wanna be called the duchess because I'm entitled to that, but, like, I don't wanna do any of the duchess work. Yeah, there's no duchess in the US. I agree. There is no duchess in the US. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. Ness says, "I talked to an older person, 50, and they thought Justin was a bad guy because all they read was the New York Times article." Yeah, that's what Blake Lively's hoping for. It's truly insane. Sussex is a place, not a name. That's what I thought. I thought, like, they all get, like, a place because 'cause isn't, like, Prince William and Kate Middleton, which, by the way, Kate Middleton is still Kate Middleton. She's she's not trying to only be called Duchess. What are they, Duchess and Duke of? They have a place too, right? Like, everybody's designated their own place. Yeah. Sussex, England, yes, is a place, right? Like there's a place that they're designated, like they're the Duke and Duchess of that specific place. So she's not Meghan Sussex, right? If anybody's in the UK and they want to correct that for me, she's not Meghan Sussex. You don't call her Meghan Sussex. She's Meghan Duchess of Sussex. That's what she wants to be called. Oh, they're Prince and Princess of Wales. Yes, because now they're next in line, right? So now they're Prince and Princess. Cambridge. Cambridge or Wales? She's Catherine, the Princess of Wales. Yes. William and Catherine are Prince and Princess of Wales. So then why are they saying Cambridge? But yeah, those are places that you're like you're not designated, you're assigned. I don't know how you even say it. Again, new to the royal family rules, but like Harry was not Prince of Wales, not Prince. He's Duke. William is Prince of Wales. Yeah. Lady Diana would be so sad. I mean, I don't know. How do you think Diana would feel about Meghan and Harry? I mean, I feel like part of her would like get it and understand it, but I also feel like Meghan's just taking it like a few steps too far. She actually seemed quite good in the kitchen when following the chef's instructions. Perhaps she could train to be a chef as her next endeavor. I can't tell if that's sarcastic or real. Tanya says, "Whoa, Ness, who are you calling old at 50? Easy now. Uh-oh, the live chat is fighting over 50." Well, that's the next poll. Is 50 old? Are we considering 50 old? Will and Kate's titles changed from Cambridge to Wales when the Queen passed and the King ascended the throne. Yes. So now it used to be Cambridge, right? They used to be Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, and now they're Prince and Princess of Wales, is my understanding, right? But again, you don't get to like not you don't get to be like, I don't want to be a duchess because like, ew, it's hard and it's like work and like I don't want to do that. And then suddenly you're now a duchess again. You don't want to be a duchess. You just want to be referred to as a duchess. Because that's literally how she has them credit her in this Netflix series. The Netflix people are like, Jesus fucking Christ, like this, they are probably so over her. And again, her even saying that she's doing this so that she could have the same last name as her children. Bullshit. Bullshit. Bull to the motherfucking shit. Sorry, YouTube, but bullshit. Yes, Sarah, guys, hit the like button. Oh, McGavver says, "I'm gonna change my first name to Dutch." Listen, it's America. You can be whatever you want to be. You can change your name. You can change your pronouns. You can do it all. No disrespect intended. I wanted to point out the different generations are not on social media. I know, Ness. Tyler Perry has a home in MS, but they didn't go to that house. That would have been a better place to hide. No, yeah. Will and Kate were literally in Wales last week. You gotta be in Sussex to be the Duchess of Sussex, honey. She can be the Duchess of Montecito, but she's not a duchess. Truly not a duchess. Okay. That said, let's move on to this beef between Meghan McCain and Andy Cohen. And before we do, we'll get into that and then maybe we'll talk a bit about traders. But before we do that, I needed to give some love to my pals at Factor. Factor, if you are ready to optimize your nutrition this year, Factor has made chef gourmet meals that make eating well easy. They're dietitian approved and ready to heat and eat in 2 minutes so you can feel right and feel great no matter what life throws at you. Factor arrives fresh and fully prepared, perfect for any active, busy lifestyle like my own. I'm always on the go, so sometimes I'm tired. I don't have time to cook lunch, or I'm just too tired to make dinner. The other day I was literally just eating my dinner out of the pan because it's like I can't even plate it if I have to wash one more dish. Thank God, now I have Factor in my life. You can lose up to 8 pounds in 8 weeks with Factor Keto meals. Based on randomized controlled clinical trial with Factor Keto, results will vary depending on diet and exercise. With over 40 options across 8 dietary preferences on the menu each week, it's easy to pick meals tailored to your goals. Choose from preferences like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, or Keto. I have told you guys I'm currently on the Protein Plus pack. I think my Factor package just came in today, which, hallelujah, my latest box of Factor meals, I believe, just came in today. Factor can help you feel great and feel your best all day long. They have wholesome smoothies, breakfasts, grab and go snacks, and more add ons if you want more than just your meals. Reach your goals this year with ingredients that you can trust and convenience that just cannot be beat. I'm telling you, we all know when we've had those days where we're just tired, we're exhausted, we don't feel like cooking. And now we have very easy to heat and eat meals that we can trust with clean ingredients from Factor. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/factorpodcast and use code factorpodcast to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code factorpodcast. One word, Factor Podcast, FACTOR, Factor Podcast at factormeals.com/factorpodcast to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. Oh yeah. Okay. Let's talk Meghan McCain and Andy Cohen. Oof. Okay, might get a little spicy in the live chat box. I'm warning you, but I feel like there's a bigger message in this that's not political, but more about political differences and like how we should just be nicer to each other if we can. It's like we should. Ooh, Stacy says Factor is super yummy. Yay. Okay, so we're moving on from Markle or Sussex, and we're moving on to McCain. So Meghan McCain tweeted this out the other day. Okay. She made this tweet. So there was the press secretary tweeted out about how 19-year-old Peyton McNabb, who has spoken out about being left with a traumatic brain injury after a transgender identifying person spiked a volleyball into her head, will be a special guest at Trump's upcoming event. This was posted a day ago. So President Trump was going to be honoring this 19-year-old young woman named Peyton. Meghan McCain tweeted about it. Actually, I'm going to read you her full tweet because I realize this one's a bit cut off. But Meghan tweeted about it basically in support of this 19-year-old woman, Peyton, right? Give me 1 second. And so Meghan, I just want to make sure because the bit that we have up here doesn't show the full tweet. Okay. So Meghan said, I've had the pleasure of meeting Peyton, this 19-year-old young woman who has a TBI. She's incredibly smart, strong, and brave. Both she and her family have been through the unthinkable. Democrats defending young women suffering from dramatic brain injuries as a result of trans athletes is why they continue losing every election. Now, this is a point that Meghan and I do have some agreement on, is that there needs to be some reflection from the Democratic Party, right? I'm not speaking specifically about this instance, but I am saying in general, because I also saw in The View, Joy Behar was just talking about how, was there really a mandate? Like Trump didn't even win by that much, yada, yada, yada. And then the guest, forgive me, I'm forgetting his name. But he basically responded to Joy and he's like, well, actually, it is a mandate. Like most, he won every swing state. He did win the popular vote, which he did not win last time. He didn't win the popular vote the last 2 times, right? And this time he won the popular vote. So the fact that he was able to connect with the American people in some way, that says something. And again, I've always said we need to do inner self reflection, because I think that's where I'm getting, like, even that's why I had that comment about, thinking that Jane Fonda going up at the award show a couple weeks ago and talking about how, woke just means empathy. And I'm like, no, the word woke doesn't identify with people anymore. And Hollywood is already becoming so extinct to most Americans. And they look at celebrities and they are tired of the entitlement and the arrogance that comes from celebrities, that they don't have the power that they, or the influence that they once had. And so we need to do some inner self-reflection and not double down on the word woke. If the word woke makes people roll their eyes, that's not the way to go, is to double down on this stuff. It's to do some inner reflection and be like, how can we tap in? How can we listen to people and resonate with them and find some common ground so that we can all come back together, right? And so I agree with Meghan when she says that Democrats, doubling down will continue to help them lose every election. I mean, a Republican candidate has not won the popular vote in over 2 decades. So, I mean, it may be longer. I'm going off of memory here, but like it, that says something, right? That there was clear, whether people like Trump or not, there was something in him that was able to tap into American people and inspired them to vote for him. And that there's a very loud, silent message in that, right? It's overwhelmingly saying something. And I think we need to listen to that. And rather than shun people and rather than cut out our friends, we need to listen to that. So Meghan posted this and then Andy Cohen responded. And Andy Cohen wrote back. He said, surprised you're buying into the vilification of the trans community given the real problems happening in this country, your previous allyship of the LGBT community, and the fact that this non-issue affects about 4 people in this country. Now, I can respond to a number of things in this tweet from Mr. Cohen, and Lord knows I've defended him a number of times on this show, especially with the allegations that have been lodged against him. I've absolutely defended him a number of times. In this case, like I said, I can go point by point. If we're going to be 2 gay men commenting on this issue, we can go point by point about that. But the bigger issue here is that Andy Cohen and Meghan McCain have known each other for a very long time. They're friends. Andy has had Meghan on Watch What Happens Live a number of times. And so what I don't like, and I understand that I'm at this point essentially the king of the clapback and the king of calling people out on social media, but what I don't like is when you throw your friends under the bus to virtue signal. Okay. Now, taking the political points aside about whether you're in support of Andy or in support of Meghan's political viewpoints, the point is, this is Meghan's profession. She's a political commentator. She did it on The View. She has a column. She has a podcast now. Like, this is part of what she does. So it's to be expected that she's going to share her political opinions online. Andy Cohen knows that Meghan McCain is a Republican, a proud Republican, right? She talks about her Republican values all the time. Andy Cohen knows this. Meghan knows that Andy is a Democrat and he's very liberal and he was like, go Kamala Harris and whatever, right? Got it. We know that they are 2 friends that don't agree on politics. However, calling her out to me is not indicative. I think to me it shows that he wants to look like he is standing up for something. And he's doing it publicly because he wants to show people that he's standing up for something publicly, rather than picking up the phone and calling Meghan personally and having a conversation with her off the record to be like, hey, what are your values? Do you see this issue? And we may not see it eye to eye, but like, let's have a conversation about this, right? Which brings Meghan's response into it. And Meghan responded to Andy and she said, "Surprised you're okay with violence against female athletes. Peyton suffered serious brain damage. Just one story. You have my cell. Always happy to talk with you privately or publicly on either of our shows because these conversations are reductive to hash out on social media," which I agree. Do you think Andy Cohen responded? No. And I don't believe that he reached out to Meghan either. And again, this happened to me very recently, right? When I chose to publicly endorse RFK Jr. I know that that's a controversial thing for a lot of people. I know why I've chosen to endorse him. I've known him for a very long time. I've been in his home. I know, I've met his wife. So for me, I know exactly why I stand by that endorsement, and I know a lot of people don't agree, but those people, do you think they're picking up the phone and calling me and trying to have a conversation with me or trying to understand it? The ones that I consider my real friends absolutely have. But I have had friends, one friend with a very public Instagram account that decided to take a jab at me in my comments, and to me was very telling and indicative of, when people do stuff like that. And I'll give you an example. So I did something similar, but not really. There was Caroline Kennedy, who obviously had a scathing video that she put out against RFK Jr. And in that, one of my friends, Chef Stu, who we do each other's podcasts all the time, we text every day, we go out often. And I remember he commented on that, and I clapped back at him in the comments, basically in response to like the political points, right? Like he made a comment. And so I understand how this may be a little hypocritical of me, but I'm walking you through, my own realization here. But so he'd commented about Caroline and he was very, in support of Caroline. And I was just like, I just think it's kind of tacky what she did. Like, you're going to call out and drag your cousin and do this like publicly like that. And then Stu immediately texts me and he's like, hold on, wait a minute. He's like, we don't do this. We are friends and we respect each other and we don't call each other out publicly like this. And I was like, you know what? You're right. It was an impulsive reaction that I had, but you're right. We shouldn't be calling people out publicly. And I didn't attack Stu necessarily or attack his viewpoint on that. I just countered the point about like how I disagree with what Caroline was doing publicly. But what I dislike is when people take these jabs at each other on social media like this because it does feel performative. And so I understand, based off of my own recent experience with Stu, that there can be moments that are impulsive, right? But then there are other moments, like I said, where I had another friend come into my comments and, make it very clear so that people can see his very clear profile picture and his account that people know, and people know that we're friends, but they can see in my comments that he disagrees with me. But do you think he ever picked up the phone to have a conversation with me about that? Absolutely not. Do you think I've still heard from him about that? We've never really had a conversation about politics. Maybe one time, but it wasn't much of a deep conversation. And so for me, that's telling. If a friend is going to be willing to take a shot at you publicly, that's not a friend that cares about you. That's not a friend that wants to understand your viewpoint. That's not a friend that even respects your viewpoint. That's a friend that is pandering to the public and that is virtue signaling by letting people know, I disagree with this person. I disagree with their opinion. And I want to make it clear that I do not stand with this person. And literally throwing them under the bus. It's a fucked up thing to do if you're truly friends with somebody. Truly an awful, mean thing to do, especially considering how politics can really get people fired up, you know? So it's crazy. It really is crazy. Friends who try to rally up the troops are not real friends. I agree. Especially when you know that you're going to do something like that, because then they're okay with, if you're two public people and you're battling this out in the public sphere, you are then okay with all of your followers or all of your supporters then attacking your friend publicly and taking those shots at them publicly. And again, it's much more productive to have a conversation one on one and to discuss these things. Do you think Andy Cohen would ever come on Meghan's show to discuss this issue? No. Do you think he would ever have Meghan on his show to discuss this issue? No. Why? Because I don't think Andy Cohen is actually that intelligent when it comes to politics. Meghan McCain is somebody that very much knows her politics and knows why she believes in her positions, right? Whether I agree with them or disagree with them, I still respect her. Still respect her. But I don't think Andy Cohen knows what he stands for. And that's why he's afraid to have these conversations. And he knows Meghan McCain would likely eat him apart. And here's the thing, You can still be friends and disagree. There are a number of friends that I have disagreements with. We've had these conversations behind closed doors. We're not afraid to have these conversations publicly. The only ones that are afraid to have these conversations publicly are the ones that maybe don't feel educated enough and they feel like they'll look stupid. But then it's like, then shut your mouth, you know? Brief up before you speak out. It's not that hard. So yeah. I just think that, and the reason I wanted to talk about that was not to defend the trans community or not defend the trans community or vilify them the way Andy's saying that Meghan is doing, or to, protect women in sports, like all of that, right? Because I can see both sides of the issue. If you want my opinion on that, I'm glad to give you my opinion on that. I can see both sides of the issue. I can see how, there are certain protections that should be in place for, people that are limited by their own biological makeup, right? Women can be limited by their own biological makeup in comparison to somebody that was biologically born male, and vice versa. That doesn't mean that people that identify as trans don't also deserve to have something for themselves as well, you know? So I can see both sides of that issue. Again, I have my own personal feelings on which of those sides I lean with, but Miss Busted Biscuit said, as an autism advocate, RFK had me and my kid with non-fatty liver disease. Yeah, listen, and again, I'd fully support and stand by my endorsement of RFK Jr. I know that not everyone would understand it, and they don't need to understand it. I'm okay with that. That's why I decided to post that publicly. I am okay with that. You don't need to understand me, you know? That's how I feel. I respect you for how you feel and who you endorse and what you stand by, whether I agree with you or think you're this or that or whatever. I know that there's likely a reason, you know. I was going to mention another one of my friends, one that I collaborate with often, Actually, I don't think she'll be bothered by me saying this, but Donna, I had a conversation with her and she's like, listen, I don't know much about RFK, but I trust you as my friend that if you're going to publicly endorse him, I trust and know that you're smart enough to make an educated decision and you have some sort of reason behind why you do that, why you're supporting this person. She's like, and I respect that. She's like, I don't know much about him. And, and that's okay. And I was like, listen, and that's okay. The fact that you are even telling me this, and this was a private conversation, and I hope she doesn't mind me sharing this publicly, but like the fact that you're saying this to me and being like, listen, I don't know much about him. Don't really care to know much about him at this point because I can't do anything about any of this. But the fact that you support him, I trust and know that you are a smart and intelligent person and that you have your reasons. And I think we need more friends like that. And we need more people that should be willing to have those types of conversations. Nicole said, I love his wife, so I default into trusting her. Cheryl, listen, Cher's lovely. She welcomed me into their home at not this past election, but the previous election, welcomed me into their home for a primary debate watch party. And it was actually a watch party in support of Pete Buttigieg. So interesting. We all have backgrounds and experiences that lead us to our politics. We should allow people more grace. I agree, Yanni. I agree. Katerina says democracy means respecting everyone's opinion, even if those you disagree with. Exactly. Okay. That's all I have for you guys. I love you. I appreciate you. And I will talk to you tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed this episode of the podcast. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If you guys, I mean, obviously, I feel weird when I tell you guys to like and subscribe or leave a review after I have these deeper conversations because I'm like, oh, people probably like want to run away from me and I'm asking them to subscribe to me and they're probably going to, if anything, be like, no, now I dislike you, unsubscribe. So if you feel compelled to still subscribe, I would appreciate that. I love you. I appreciate you. I like that we can have these respectful conversations and we can go deep or we can go super surface, but we still have a good time and we can do legal deep dives and political talk and housewives talk and all that stuff. So, also, there's a new episode of the Pop Report that's out right now. I get a little feisty in that one too. So, just be forewarned. You can go and tune into the Pop Report next. Thank you. Wow, Nicole just became a member on YouTube. Thank you, Nicole. Welcome to the Zack Pack. All right, guys. I will talk to you tomorrow. Tomorrow, maybe a little bit earlier of a lot. Well, we have the Baldoni Blake hearing that we can call into. So I probably won't be able to live stream it like I initially wanted to, but we'll listen to that. And then immediately after, I'll go live so that we can discuss it. And then Friday, I have on Stuart and Keith from Ask Two Lawyers. They're going to be back on the show and we're going to get into more. So if you guys have legal questions, you can leave them in the comments and let me know what you want me to ask them about. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Get it. Get it. So stay tuned for that on Friday. That will also be a little early because I have to go to Expo West on Friday, which is really fun. I love doing that event. And then I'm filming something tomorrow. So my days are just busy, jam-packed, and like, But all right, guys, I will talk to you later. Bye.